Sometimes the simplest tools provide the fastest and easiest solutions. Take this screwdriver and wrench for instance. With a simple twist, they can create or dismantle something in moments. Well, such helpful tools aren't relegated to the garage or the workshop. There are countless others ready to do work in the kitchen as well. And one of the most unique is one of these, the Rotary Grater. Today we're going to take an in-depth dive into these machines, touching on both their history and relevance today, and moreover, putting one to work. By the end of this video, you'll know all about these things and whether one might just be a vital tool in your kitchen. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook. And you could certainly be a better cook with one of these, making perfect and consistent cuts of food with the simple crank of a handle. Say hello to the Rotary Grater, though that name is a bit limiting to what this device is and what it can do, which is far more than just grate. In fact, they go by several names, including a food cutter, salad maker, and manual food processor. And yes, one of these tools can do all those things. Now, for the sake of simplicity in this video, I will refer to this as a food grater. And if it looks familiar, well, you might remember that I purchased this one a few months ago for just $20 during a thrift store haul out in Palm Springs, California. And I've been putting it to good use since. Now, the idea of using manual rotational force to process food via a machine is nothing new, and you probably have such a device already in your kitchen. Examples include a pepper grinder, food mill, egg beater, or butter churner, all of which we've used in other videos. These machines use a manual rotary motion to ultimately transform food. Well, the Rotary Grater does that too, but instead it turns the notion and motion sideways. So instead of using a vertically oriented gear and mechanism to process food, well, this one is horizontal. Now, like those other tools, these are nothing new. Devices such as this one have been around nearly 80 years. In my research, the earliest examples I could find come from the American company Salad Master and the French brand Moulinex, both introducing models in 1947, coincidentally. Now, the Mouli one of that period was designed especially for cheese, and it was more of a rotary hand grater, similar to the ones still sold today. This variant, from a company called Healthcraft that appears to be similar to the Salad Master version patented by Harry Lemons, has some special and significant differences from a simpler rotary hand grater. Nowadays, there are various designs of these rotary graters, but they all have a couple things in common. And first of all, well, they all have a main body here, including a handle, and this is what you turn to cut the food. And then there are these interchangeable drums, and these are what actually do the cutting, grating, or slicing of the food. Now, each drum has a different pattern, and that's going to reflect the way it cuts or shreds or grates, etc. You can kind of think of these as one of those traditional flat plane cheese graters that's been turned and bent until it is an oval shape. Pretty brilliant, right? Well, it gets even better. The way these work are pretty ingenious. So after selecting the drum you want to use, all you do is you attach the back here to this clutch mechanism of the grater. So you just put it right in here, and then with the similar motion that you would use to grate, it actually locks the drum in place, and then from there you can grate whatever you're grating. To take it off, it's simply the reverse process. You hold it, you turn this in a counterclockwise direction, and you simply remove the drum. To operate, all you have to do is hold the food against the drum and turn the handle. Whatever food you're cutting will come out of the drum in consistent cuts. They are uniform in size and shape. And it's fast. You can process a lot of food quickly with one of these. Now for smaller cuts of food, you can load it into this hopper and then just push it down with this door/pusher and then grind, grate, or chop away. Now if you're thinking one of these sounds a lot like a food processor, well, you're correct. In fact, sometimes these are called manual food processors. But of course, there's no electricity needed for this one, and well, your arm, that's the engine. I think these are rather fun to use too, and well, they literally get you closer to the food that you're preparing. You aren't just a bystander with one of these, but an integral part of the process. And with proper supervision, this can also be a great way to get kids and family and friends involved in cooking. Cleanup is easy too. In fact, I find it faster and easier than a traditional food processor. When done, all you have to do is simply remove the drum and wash it in a sink. As for fastening, some of these models have legs, but this one here has a suction cup on the bottom, and all you have to do is flip this lever and it clamps down securely to a surface such as this tile. And this thing does not move. In fact, it picks up the entire board. This sucker is on here really, really tight. Then to remove, you simply unleash this, and then you can remove it from the tile or other work surface. So what kind of foods would you use one of these for? Well, kind of like a traditional food processor, they're almost limitless. But one of the best things this is used for is for grating cheese. And these things really are incredible for that, especially harder cheeses like Parmesan. You know, if you grate a lot of cheese, one of these might just be worth the entry alone. And the great thing about grating your own cheese from a block is not only is it usually less expensive than buying shredded cheese, but when you buy that shredded cheese in a package, well, those have what's called anti-caking agents. And while they don't really affect the flavor all that much, they affect the way cheese cooks and the way it melts. It can get kind of gooey and gloppy. But of course, when you're shredding your own, you have none of that. I love using shredded cheese from this machine atop a big bowl of pasta or in a quesadilla, and it melts perfectly and tastes great. And I can't deny that this is also really fun to use. But of course, this works really well for far more than just grating cheese. As its original Salad Master name might suggest, these are great for just cutting up vegetables for making salads. This thing really is a buzzsaw, whether you're creating coleslaw or what have you. And then with these different drums, you can really get creative. You can make slices of potatoes for homemade potato chips. You can make waffle cuts, and you can really get creative. I've been enjoying what I call waffle apple crisps by just cutting up apples in a waffle pattern. They are so delicious to just snack on. But it doesn't end there. You can shave chocolate, you can make breadcrumbs from stale bread. Again, your options are really almost limitless with what you can run through one of these drums. Now, this machine came with 5 drums, but I think some machines come with even more, so that only expands your flexibility of the type of cuts that you can make with one of these. In that respect, one of these can replace several tools, from a knife to a box grater to even a mandolin. Nowadays, I'm not sure these are quite as popular as they once were before everybody had a food processor, but they are still being made and they are available, and well, they come in a wide range of cost and quality. You can get everything from like a plastic model that costs around $30 to something like this, an American-made all-metal one that costs somewhere around $200 or more. So should you ultimately buy one of these? Well, honestly, if you have a food processor and you're happy with it, probably not. I mean, these can do a lot of different functions, but they can't do nearly all the things that a food processor can. For example, you're not going to be making emulsions with this, cutting up herbs, or mixing dough, all of which you can do in an electric food processor. But there's a difference between need and want. And well, frankly, I wanted one of these things, and when I saw it at the thrift store, especially for 20 bucks, I grabbed it. And even though I have multiple food processors in my arsenal, I find myself using this a lot. Frankly, it's just easier to run food through this thing that I want to cut up quickly or grate quickly, and I find that cleanup is easier too. I'm not having to mess with the bin and all that stuff and the blade of the food processor. I just remove the drum of this thing and clean it up. Then there's also the aesthetics of this thing. Subjectively, I really like the way this thing looks. It kind of has an Art Deco theme going on here. I think it's so beautiful, and well, I like to display it on my countertop. It's a really interesting conversation point, and again, it's super useful. And lastly, there's what I call the empowerment factor. By having this thing ready to go sitting on the countertop, I'm more motivated to just grab some fruit, grab some vegetables, and start cutting, grating, or shredding. It's making me eat healthier, and well, I don't know, maybe it will you too. Also, I don't have to worry about scraping my knuckles on a box grater or, like I say, cleaning up a food processor. But I want to hear from you. Do you have one of these things? Or maybe your mom or grandma did? Did you use it? What did you think? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Okay, before we get to trivia time, I had to show you what else I recently found at the thrift shop. Check this out. It's this little espresso cappuccino maker made in Spain. I think this is like from the 1980s or maybe 1990s, but it was in the box with the instructions and just cute as a button, so I bought it. I'm honestly not a huge coffee drinker, but lately I've been craving cappuccinos and cafe lattes, and I've been making them with this, and well, they are good enough. Now, purists might point out that this isn't a true espresso maker. It doesn't have a big, powerful pump. This is instead a steam espresso maker and more akin to like a mocha pot that might sit atop your stove. But I found it fun and functional, and for $12.99, it has definitely paid for itself in the past couple of weeks, getting me caffeinated. Okay, trivia time. Last week I asked you to identify this very odd looking thing from the produce section, and several of you got it right. This is in fact a king oyster mushroom. I bought these from one of my local Asian stores, and well, that's what this odd looking thing is, a king oyster mushroom. I honestly haven't cooked with these yet. If you've got any good uses for king oyster mushrooms, let me know and I'll whip something up. For this week's culinary trivia, what is this tool? This kind of tracks with something I just shared, and if you know what this thing is or have a guess, put it in the comments below, and I will, of course, let you know the correct answer in the next video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Until next time, I hope you want to cook.